There are too many things around me. Gonna bring Twitch over here for a second. Survey content. Where's the ding dang extensions? And for my extensions, I want to go into Stream Bounty, and I want to edit it slightly. Hello, Spritzy. I'm going to go into friggin' Megabonk, and we're going to edit. Alright, I'm going to change this to Epic. Yeah. Yes. Ditch that one. Weapon. Ten. That's right. I'm tweaking the things. I didn't bulk edit. Okay. Missouri. Okay. Epic. Oh, yeah, charge strike. Yes. Yes! I said I would update these last time, and I keep freaking forgetting the fourth. Ooh. Duplicate item, triplicate item. Is it quintuplet for 5? Well, it says it's not. It says quintuplet's not a word. Well, fine. Hi, Lizzie. Now, see, I almost never actually get or see the Fritz initials. Like, those happen every time. I'm like, you'd be surprised. Holy cheese, burgers, slurp glove. Gas mask. We use it a lot. All hail the anvil. If I get the anvil, I'm excited. Have you had the anvil yet? Holy cow, the anvil is so good. You have no idea if you haven't had the anvil. I would kill to just start with the anvil. Holy shit. You know what I should do? I should open Megabonk. I think if I open Megabonk, we can then have like some background music on here. We're gonna capture Megabonk. Now, the reason it's not Star Ocean is because it got very late. Because I'm a bad girl who showered for too long. Well, slept. I slept. I fell asleep.
Don't listen to her. She fell asleep.
I conked hard. I was like, I'm gonna lay down for half an hour, and then it was almost like 7 by the time I rolled out of bed. Oops. Just fucking tired all the time. I was wondering if it's the whole autistic burnout thing, like if it just makes me perpetually sleepy. I'm gonna change Ceratic's fall damage. Oh, you know what? That's rare enough. It's fine. I'm adding map lost to the fog. If you don't know what I mean by that, you'll know it when if you've ever been in the final swarm and it's gotten really mad at you, you may have ascended to another plane. Not literally, but, you know, you will be so high up that everything's just gone. You're like, woohoo! There's nothing down there. New character unlocked, we're getting rid of. We're getting rid of the unlocks because I'm honestly done with most of those. I'm adding Sarah's sense of direction to this one. Alright. Alright. We've played a lot of Megabonk. What else could I add to this? What's something... What's something that happens a lot? I have it up. I can just look. Quests. No, I'll do unlocks. We'll look at unlocks because unlock like we could do quest finishes. Those get really rare. It'd be like, you got that on your list? Oh, you got fucked, honey. Item. I mean, there's weapons. I'd certainly have my favorite weapons, but we had Dragon's Breath yet? Have you guys tried that? That thing's pretty good too. I know what to add. 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 Difficulty increase. I have if I use the curse shrine, the greed totem. And I am actively trying to grind the cursed tome, so we will be seeing some difficulty increase just by default. And I hate it. I can't wait to be done with that forever. Something slutty is taken. There's like at least 2 or 3 slutty items, right? Oh, the cleavers get to. There's some really good legendaries. Sucky Magnet rules. Holy Book I've yet to actually get. I've learned how overpowered lamp works, and now I'm like, oh. Time dilated. There's about 4 different ways that could hit, so enjoy. You know what? I'm going to change it. I'm going to change it. Time dilated unconventionally. So that's okay. I'm going to save that. That's pretty good. I think that's a longer list than it was even. So yeah, it's 37 instead of 31. And I got rid of some duds and I added some new ones and I edited a bunch. Okay, I'm going to go back to the stream manager now. All right. Now I might add some difficulty things later. But it's not an active goal. I was also thinking of rewording the in-game action one to make it so I have to do things, because that's what people keep doing for Megabonk. But it'd be like, you know, things I can do within the timer. Must grab every greed totem, or like something for the run, maybe. I don't know. I'll consider it. Solars, I can't stop jumping. It's just kind of how I move now, so... I did some research on movement tech. I'm dying a lot more, but I am trying to get better for reasons. So I'm going to switch over. I'm down here now. Okay. Do we want bingo? I apologize for the late start. I really do. Oh, tired all the time lately. Week started with me sleeping like 15, 20 hours in a day. Too much. Just a coma day. Sunday, Monday, I forget which. Just out. I need to open Stream Bounty. I need to turn my tablet a bit so I can see a little better. I need to scoot this over. Do we want general events? Let's just do Megabonk for now, because that lets me do a really quick rotation. I've liked the rotation. I think it's more, engaging for people, and because I don't like being on top of my leaderboard, I'm not joining this one, so... The other reason I do the quick rotation is, simple. It is... I talked about the rules last time, but I don't think Lizzie was here. I'm going to go over it again. The basic rules of quick rotation. And this is why I don't like using the general events right now, because I have a lot of stuff like where you spend bits or points or whatever. Quick rotation means we go until someone wins. And then I finish the run. So if I finish a run and no one's won, we start the next run and we keep running the same bingo. If someone has won, I am resetting the bingo. Now this means you have more potential points, but also more potential loss. You probably won't get a bingo every time. So, that's the nightmare you get to live with. Is that agreeable? We go with that. I don't think that's Bark Vader back there. I think that's just like some worse fourth thing. Also, not to say I'm slightly obsessed, but I was on the devs like old social media, Twitter and stuff. They don't do much, honestly, on there. But hello. They have posted like works in progress and stuff from before the game came out, and one of the things was like grind rails. There's like a map that's on a castle or something. They have a bunch of monsters that aren't in the game yet proper, so we'll see what happens in the future. I've also decided the funniest thing in the world would be to find out this is the same guy that did web fishing, and he keeps changing, you know, his studio name and trying to be anonymous because it overwhelms him to succeed, and he just keeps putting out bangers. I think that'd be really funny. You know, I'm not going to net this time, but I'll think about it in the future. I thought about doing a thing like I did with Star Ocean, but you pick what character I have to play on the next run for a certain number of points. My least favorite is a monk. My controller is not doing the thing. At least, I don't know. Dice Head's pretty bad, too. Dice Head is hard to start with. He has some good potential. He's hard to start with. I'm missing Sir Chadwell, and I'm missing the one you have to kill Spooky Steve to get. I don't have either of Sir Chadwell's things, so that's what I need the Cursed Tome for. I've been plugging away. I think we'll start basic today. Sure. Do we want to be Santa? Nah. The bingo has started. Everyone is here. I think is going to be here for now. I don't know how many are here. We got Lizzie. We got a few people. Okay. Reminder: if you don't remember, you can start the bingo by joining with the stream bounty icon next to the chat. There is no cost. There's no reason not to do it. You just, you know, it's a fun little thing we can do together. How fun is that? Yay, bingo. There's a leaderboard. You can technically spend bits to get extra cards. I meant to turn off my mic before I scooched it. Sorry for whatever noise that just made. So, we're starting basic. We're going to do Fox on Forest. It'll be a great time. I haven't done any. I did Fragile 1. I did. I think that's what got me the Holy Book. I'm not doing any of these right now. Because I don't win consistently enough to think I'm ready to challenge it. I mean, I don't know. I don't watch enough streamers to know how often mic noises happen to the good ones. Yeah. Good job. I got a lot of nothing. I mean, if you're gonna hand it to me right out the frickin' gate... where is it? Where's Something Slutty? I had it. Something Slutty is taken. Yes, give me the Slutty rocket. I like the daggers more. I feel obligated, even though they're not very good. I just feel obligated to take the Slutty rockets. It's just part of the brand. So... yes, please. I think early lifesteal is really nice. Ooh, damage. forget if I still... No, I did the knockback, so I unlocked the black hole. Wonk, wonk. And yes, that does count as Shrine of Suck. That's going to happen very early. I've kind of changed how I operate, so... At least with mouse characters. Alright, I got the gate. Epic item. And I got Bob. Alright. He's dead. I like the implication that there's like an alive Bob somewhere. That's probably not what they're going for, but can you imagine? Gold game is good. I forget if I need thorns. I don't really want tornado. Lifesteal can be good. I don't know, man. They're probably feeding me. Well, there's Can't Afford right out the friggin' gate. You're welcome. Also, that was the jump an epic charge sign, or was that just rare? I missed it. No one called me on it. I'm gonna say whoopsie. That's what I'm gonna say. What did I just do? Can't Afford. Yep. I try to not to do that all the time. Got a projectile speed? Why? Why would I want projectile speed? You're drunk. Go home. Oh. Ooh. Busted. HP is really good. Scythe has the most annoying sound in the world. I don't want that. Scythe isn't a bad weapon. It just sounds like shit. Moldy cheese, my beloved. And we're getting a rapid bingo. I hope you guys are having a good run. Oh my god, it's way in there. That, you could say, sucks. More rockets. Which is, I'm probably not getting the project. Sword? I do need to grind sword. It would give me some melee. Sure. Sword can get very complimentary if you do it right. I just haven't had much luck with that since getting more than 2 weapons. Ow, my ass. Blue boy. Blue boy now. Oh, banana ring. Okay, that's going to be our 4th weapon and a blue. Okay. Boing. And blue enemy. Where is he? Where is the blue boy? Where did I put it? Blue skeleton down. No! Cancel. Keep myself out. I thought I did something worse than cancel. My head was like, I deleted it. I deleted it. Oh no. I broke it all. Give me that. Too early for the bush. That'd be dumb. Oh, yes, please. Oh, we've got a nice HP build going, actually. Which is good if we can get a beefy ring, especially. Also pairs really well with armor, though I would have to give up luck or XP at that point, and I really like having those. Those are kind of the OP tomes to get. Everyone is more or less agreed you want those, but Fox also gets luck naturally, so it's not the end of the world if I can't get luck. XP doesn't really help with the boss so much, so, you know. Ooh. Yes, please. Rare, not ever. Crit chance can also be extremely good. Oh. Ooh. Size goes well with the sword and the wand. I don't know. I'm trying to get the things that make the long game better, but I'm also just like, you know, what if my build was stupid? Because meta is what it is, you know, it's not always right. I'm also trying to get good at this, even though I don't have the hands to really do it the way people want me to. I'm not going to do any of that. Oh! Oh! Those are all really good. Holy shit, okay. Those are all really good. So be it, we found the boss gate. You farming now, I don't even care about chests right now, I know what I want. any of that early. So it's like sucking magnet's great, but I don't think I need it per se. Damn it, please. What's a quantity tome? Like everything I have would benefit from quantity. Stop touching me. Stop touching me. Rude. Rude ass. You alright? Not my favorite legendary, but not a bad legendary at all. Okay. And that would benefit from the lamp too. So, luck tome. Now see, that benefits... Yeah, it's one of the big two you want. I would love... Wow, that's a direct bot. That is a very, very direct bot. Viewers. Shady Link. No! Get out of here! Early game key is good. Oh my gosh. Viewers! Yeah, I'm sure they are. I'm sure they're really real, too. I'm sure I would feel so engaged with by your legit, not at all bots. Jesus. I've had a couple Thorns builds on accident. Well, ooh, that kind of makes up if I don't have the XP thing. A little bit. Alright. Don't want Coward's Cloak. I do get hit a lot. This is cheaper. Alright, give me the one that gives me gold, because we are, after all, trying to be smart with our money, despite the fact we just spent a bunch. But hey, we get to pick our items in that case, so... Okay! Oh, fuck, sure! Yep, okay. Oh, yeah, okay. Crit Tome just went way up on our list of ideas. The Crit Tome just skyrocketed up the priorities. If we can get that one. Wow. Okay. Okay. You know what? That's also beneficial. I'll take it. It's not here. Oh boy, more sucking? Armor is good with HP. Armor is really good with HP. And agility is good for me in general. It really wants me to take armor. Ugh. Ugh. It's shoving it in my face. It's picking, like, it's like, hey, pick one of these. Like, I don't wanna. I'm wasting all my rerolls on it. Not wise. I only have 2 more. I mean, I could banish something, I guess. I don't do that often. It takes a level, but... Oh, shit, that's the other one. Print rate and quantity are so complementary. Oh, it's kind of a waste of a banish, because once I take another book, it'll never come up again. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Take it. Oh, yes. That was an epic tome upgrade, and that's an epic weapon upgrade. I think we're getting both of those. Let me call up the thing. Epic. Legendary weapon. I don't have epic tome upgrade, actually. 4th tome is acquired. Nothing is level 10 even remotely. They're really gonna put epic tome stuff? I'm a fool. Okay. Well. Quantity pays off in your projectile base, especially. Okay. Probably should have saved the suck until after the whole frenzy, but you know. Excuse me, pardon me, going for a walkies. Oh, hey, there's one. In the rock. Yes, please. I keep forgetting I have an extra jump. Fox's jump height isn't half bad. Ooh, hello. Is that fall damage? Did I just take fall damage? Alright. That's a golden skeleton. I have to actually kill him. And remember, you and Liz can both call events, too, if you want to save me having to do this. Alright, yeah, old man's down. gotta remember to mark Gold Man down next time I get a chance. Okay, fuck you. There wasn't a boss in there. There's stuff up there, though. How do I get up there? How do I get up there? You monster. How do I get up there? How do I get up there? Yeah, boss curse. A little late in the run to get one, honestly. Alright, we're gonna boss curse. We're gonna get Gold Band down, okay? Boss cursed. Golden skeleton down. Done. First area, I will always curse the boss. Often, at least a few times, if I get the chance. Okay, there's a Moai. And another XP shards. Yeah, this is working out pretty well to not have the XP so if all things are equal, we take luck. With more luck, will make things less equal for our benefit in the future. Rage if we need it. Oh, yes, please. There was a voting round? I didn't even know. Oh, you gotta actually mark it and call it in your card. So click on the things that make the bingo and then hit bingo. Did I get duplicate item? I did. I did get duplicate item. Okay, and we're gonna take a legendary charge shrine. And there we go. You depending on you were the first bingo called, you get the most points out of anyone for the round. And that puts you on the leaderboard. Enjoy. Good chance to do what we've got going. That's another microwave. A lot of microwaves this run. I'm kind of finalizing the first time on my first round of the day. Things are aggravating. Extra damage is always a winner. I'm trying to do the diagonal bunny hop thing, but it's kind of hard. It is built around the method is built around controlling the camera while you do it, and I can't do that so well with my controller set because camera is right stick and I need to jump and I can slide with left bumper, so I do a bit of it, but it definitely favors keyboard. That's what you're after. Hello? Yes, I will take a higher chance of just... That's 3 legendaries already, and I got the guy to go back to. Ooh, that's more luck. Okay. Well, I mean, we are building crit. I would rather have to build speed in this case. I don't know if I want to go down there at all. You have to really I can go around the back, so... Okay, that does tempt me, actually. Enjoy hell! Oh, hey, Vox! Spritz, I think you're trying to get me to say the word. Oh, more. Are you already got bingo. You don't need me to say the word. One of the things is if I say the B word. Oh my god, fine. For the sake of all of you, bonk. If I say bonk, that's one of the bingo events. Okay, I said bonk. I mean, other people are waiting for bingo too. Round's not over till I'm over. Unless y'all want me to do it every tier, but that kind of negates some of these things. Do I want more bananas? Or do I want more damage generally, but more bananas is more damage, so... Oh, it sucks to be you. Oh. I think that's bastard. Okay, it works.
I see a bingo card if you mock the game.
Mock them. I do have Sarah dies of hubris. That'd be a very funny one too. I won't lie.
You do it a lot.
Die of hubris?
You mock the game a lot. That's a die of hubris right there.
No, I knew exactly where I was
You
going.
called it?
You do, but if you hug a wall or if you crouch when you land on a slope, you don't. I don't like most of those.
Right.
What?
No, I don't like this game.
Beefy ring! Beefy ring! Oh, we have the build. Okay, we're good. We're in. We're in, dogs. We're so in. Okay, I got the max HP tome and the beefy ring. We have damage for days. I also have the damage tome. So I wish I got armor too. That would have been a complete set sort of thing for me, but hey. Oh yes, I will take that, please. Yes, please. Just please. Yes, please. Yes. Okay, we need to go south. We got about a minute. It's not very long, but it's enough to do what I'm here to do. I believe in myself. Do you believe in me? This would be a dies of hubris, just so you know. No, I'm not stopping.
I believe in the me that.
Alright. Oh, we're never getting up there. Alright. I hit a tree. I hit a tree. I don't remember where the guy was. He's by the boss gate. I know that. I'm a-bouncing. Alright, now it's getting a little... I don't see him. No, my legendary dude I was going to buy from. Wait, there he is. Homeboy. Hello. Hi. What do you got for me? Holy book. That is more max HP that works with the beefy ring. I don't think overheal does. The lifesteal is nice. But the regen and the radiating damage from regen and lifesteal and the max HP pairing with the beefy ring and the oats and all that, I think that's what we want. I think that's what we want. That was the plan. That was my whole move, guys. Alright, little Bark, I need you to die. There's only 2 of you, which is frankly not much to worry about. You know, just for the sake of it. Just for the sake of it. Well, that's pretty aggravating for me with my sword, but don't worry about it. Okay. That is time frozen conventionally. That is not time dilation unconventionally. That is not worth it. Any more luck? I'll take gym sauce, otherwise known as very legal steroids. And I bought what I need to buy, so everything else... Well, that's a little late, but okay. Everything else I need is just chest. Banana ring. Epic sword. Yes, please. Oh, crit chance goes with our build, but fire staff's our main weapon. We're going to need that in the... Okay. That was a voice. Yeah, slut my rocket. Okay. Alright. Now we're looking for nearby chests I can raid for the boss fight. And the end of the... That'll do. Brass knuckles. It's not the most useful for me, but it's fine. Don't stray too far, because we do have to leave when it gets dicey. And now we have a little more leeway than we will in a second. So. Boom. Yep, that is a thing. Borger's on the thing. Okay, so I need to mark Borger. We don't have triplicate of anything yet? Okay. Delicious Borger. I'm going to say first area cleared for now because we did do it. That was a freebie. That's awesome. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. More luck because it means the odds the other one's getting better is always better. I don't think there's... Oh, there's 2 down there. I'm getting a lot of legends. Sorry, I think I just had a moment. No! Alright, you know what? You know what, game? That's fair. I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take the stolen. That's fine. You know, I think it's deserved. I'm not jumping all over curse totems yet. Oh, they got near me. Oh, they got near me. Careful, once they get near you, things go south real fast, so I gotta watch, I gotta pay a lot of attention here. We farming. Oh, we farming. This is how you do it. Okay, yep, they touch me. You touch me! You touch me! No! 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 That's hubris. Oh, damn it. That was so good. Okay, whatever. I died of hubris. I should have gone in when I said this is getting dicey. Oh well. That's only a shame because of all the legends I had. How many is that? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? 5 fucking legends? Like, that sucks. But hey. Yeah, whatever. Alright. I was like, oh, once they touch me, I'll go in. Oh shit, out of control. I think I should just call it at a minute and a half. What was that when I died? Was it closer to 2? At a minute and a half, you're just, at some point, you're a pinball. Their knockback is way too strong. So we had, what, 2 winners? And that is Sarah dies in general. So... anything else that went on? The limited 1. Nice. Nothing reached level 10. Alright, I think that's all of them. This is your last chance to sign in and claim any bingos if you'd like. In the moment, I'm going to change it to the next round. Congrats to our winners. How's everybody doing? Is hubris entertaining? There's 600 quatlus. Quatlu? It's a quatlu. Oh. No explanation. I'll never know what a quatlu is. Oh, okay. I didn't get it. I'm sorry. You may think less of me now. We have 4 winners, so it didn't go bad. Alright. 5 seconds. Ending game. Alright. We're going to do another Mega Bonk. There you go. There you go. You have to rejoin as a reminder. Little icon next to the chat. You can play bingo too. Whee! I'm sorry I don't know what a quatlu is, so I could not make your day. Maybe I'll find out someday. Okay, who won the bingo last time? Let's do that. Was that Katie? Katie, who do you want me to be? Doesn't matter, you can just pick one based on vibes.
Monkey.
You want me to be Monkey? Okay, I'm Monkey. Done. Who got second place? Was it Spritz? Pick the map, Spritz. Pick my destiny, man. My input, I think, with Monkey, Desert would be the funniest, just because there's not much for him to climb. Though I think there's something I can get on Graveyard with him, so... Never know. Fritz isn't paying attention, so I might just opt for Graveyard to see if I can get the thing. Yep. He's zoned out. He's not here. All right. We're a monkey. Now, this part with him is gonna suck, right? Like, sounds like shit. Really? Yeah, I'll shake. More banana. Fuck did you come? Wow. Good job, sir. I should add banana to the list. I'm always open to things to add to the list. I'm not gonna put every single. There's Borger. I would like to mark Borger. There you go. There's fall damage. I wants to mark that. A real 1-2 for the crowd today. At least makes this easier. No, thank you. No, not early in the run, especially. Not when I'm worried about spooky freaking Steve. Right now, I'm just getting what I can. My goal is, in fact, to survive the crit. And I'm like, wow, you're doing a bad job. That might work. That 5's okay with the bananas. Alright, not a great time, but not a bad one. 48 extra seconds. Now, in the graveyard somewhere, atop a very high tower, I think that one over there is a thing. You see. I'm sure that really excites you. A thing, you're thinking. I've never heard anything so exciting in my life. And that is correct. I don't know what Boss Totem does to the final guy. So fine. No, I would like to kill that. I'd like to kill that. Thank you. Okay. A few things to mark. I don't think anyone's marking them. So. Okay. What have we done here? We have common items only. We have 2 weapons, no totems. So no duplicate. Oh wait. Yeah, no dupe. I don't think no duplicate. Or is this a duplicate? That's a duplicate. Okay, duplicate item obtained. Golden skeleton down. Borger. Sarah takes fall damage. Boss has been cursed. There you go. Monkey with a shotgun sounds horrible. Just in a very funny fucking way. Aura. I feel like we're getting a very strange build going, but I'm not necessarily aiming to win. I'm aiming to unlock something. I'm very mission-oriented right now. More gold gain, I guess. Good job of being smart. It's another duplicate. I don't think I want another. Do I want a third? Oh, yes. Shit, this is gonna be stupid. Alright. There's your hubris on the table. I think lifesteal will serve me well with this one. It's important to note there is no further area besides the final boss arena, so really we're just building like it's kind of nice that there's different varieties of level now, I guess. This complete and total difference of what you're doing is interesting. Monkey is one of like 2 characters I think could reliably get up here, so there it is. Found the old mask. What's it do? I don't know. Doesn't really say. I got it. So there's another thing knocked out of my list. How we doing? Nice crystal. That's not bad. Man, there's a lot of... I'm not doing like 5 of them. I'm not stupid. I'm full of myself. I'm not that full of myself. This is not a good sign. The fact that I'm struggling to kill the gold guys does not give me confidence. I don't like any of that. Kind of like that, though. Just more, please? We're not getting kills here. We need some XP bad. Things are not a cozy kind of spicy. I got what I wanted. I got the thing. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I like blood magic. I'll do that. And on top of these, can I hit the mask multiple times? Does the mask do something good or does it do something bad? It didn't really say what the mask does. It was just, I got a mask. Oh, the bridge just said, no. Fall damage was going to happen when it became monkey. Just guaranteed. Alright, this is gonna be rough. I'm not great on damage output. So Hubris is about to be served. More damage. More damage, please. More damage. Also, we're kind of on the run more than winning a fight, but don't worry about it. Yep, there goes my face. Delicious. The lifesteal's really doing a lot. Yum yum. No thank you. Yeah. It's not gonna matter. Bad. Okay. Whatever. I never even found a shrine of suck. Alright, what did we actually get there? Sarah said no. Hubris, I'm calling that. Sarah dies, yeah. Not a great run, but I got the thing. I got the thing. And since no one's won, that bingo carries. So enjoy. Quest. Old mask. What's it do? I don't know. Oh. Yeah, pro-con. Pro-con, double-edged mask. Uh-huh. Kill 100 cactuses. Alright, almost fine. Right, no bingo. Am I still monkey? Is that how this works? I guess. No, not monkey. Don't care. Monkey died. Monkey sucks. Oh. Glasses are fine. I just... Ay. Okay. I got rid of idle juice because I don't give a shit. I don't stand still. Have you noticed? Quinn's mask is Thorn's damage, which is cool if I get Thorn's damage. This needs the Executioner. I need to grind sword. I still got a grind sword. What is that? What's that get? That's 89 cent. I see. Okay, well, I guess we're doing Oofy, so I can grind sword. Do we want to be dark or light, I guess? There's not much else going on. I could try to unlock this. Let's do that. Let's, Tier 1, challenges, good old-fashioned, what is it? 6 minutes to win, go. Let's see if we can get Oofy a third skin, shall we? Well, we start right by the gate. We are very explicitly going for that, but I am still tempted to grab... I want that boss spawn. It does make more shit happen later, which can help, but in this case, I don't know if it's worth it. That sucks. Okay. Being good at going faster is very important to me because Oofy is a slow bitch. Oofy has never done leg day in his life. Shoo, boy, that's a choice. All right. Forms with Oofy can be interesting because he does have enough meat to make it work. But you gotta be really good at minding yourself, and I'm not. I've had a build once where Thorn was genuinely my best DPS, and that was kind of interesting right up until it was the worst thing in the world. Well, I took that a little early. Oh, hey, that'll help. Suck. Grinder Suck has been used. Slutty Cannon. I would like the Slutty Cannon, I won't lie, but I'd also like the Golden Sneakers, because I need the money. Ooh. Alright, we'll have to consider that option. I don't really care about the feathers in this contest. There are some contests where I like the feathers, but right now, size isn't great. I guess more weapon. Yes, throw the bones of my enemies. You know what? Yeah, it's the one thing that could help you with it. More damage from my axe. More damage from my... I mean, we are trying to grind swords, so the most sword does, the better. Love any way to heal, that'd be nice. Okay, that's beneficial. Slutty Rocket with the Slutty Cannon, though? Oh, okay. Didn't really think about that one. That's out of character. I didn't like that. I didn't like it. No. Not in this context, please. Save it for that. It's 3 away. Give me the slutty cannon, though. There. Okay, we got something slutty. Something slutty has been taken. We gotta move. Hell of a combo. Alright, we're going not uphill. This'll help. Really, man? Sure. Kill anything that's not right in front of me. Up there? You're mean. Oh, this one's mean. This is a mean map spawn. Oh. Oh, yuck. Okay. Oh. I'm gonna make shit in my pants. Oh, thank you. Oh, up. Oh, there's a huge chunk of time just wasted. We do not have time to waste. Remember, we do not get overtime on this one unless we've killed the boss, so we have to kill the boss within that timer. I cannot dilly-dally it up. But if I do it, we unlock the third skin form. And Sir Oofy can hopefully be a more interesting color than gray or darker gray. Size works. Luck won't matter, we don't have enough time. Shield is smart with him. Well, that's 4 weapons, I never got that mark. Chunkum's a pretty good indicator of how we're going to do. That helps. So we need to... Oh, wait. That is an epic item I got, the Slutty Rocket. And we have 4 weapons. We don't have 4 tomes yet. Move. What is up here? What is this? Oh, you need to die. You need to die. There is no maybe on that. You need to die. Okay, cool. Lifesteal might be good. A little lifesteal might do me some good. Okay. Please die. I need all of you to die very quickly. I'm just gonna go down. You can follow me. No, they died up there. Shit. Oh, there's a movement thing though. Oh shit. Okay, we might have to start moving towards it. I was gonna try to grab more stuff, but I don't think we have time. Luffy. That'll help. That'll help a lot, actually. Of course it's microwaves. Of course we got a bunch of microwaves. Ooh. Take the detour for the golden chest. I'll do it. Oh, there's another one over there. I don't think I have time for that. We'll take moldy cheese, though. Oh, hey! Thanks for coming to me. Alright. Moldy cheese and a blue skeleton down. Alright. Buy what I can. We're trying to haul now. We need to get anything we can get because we are trying to kill a boss very quickly. Sure, I'll I'll call out a whole other group of guys. Go. Give me chests. Give me chests. We're in a swarm. I need their stuff. Please and thank you. Sure. Ooh! Give it. It's a little late, but give it. More lightning is plus then we got the damage there. Should probably dump some of my gold into that. Sure, doesn't really matter. That helps slightly. That it's not the one I want, but I'll take it. Okay, how far away is this? Oh no. We might be in trouble. Just give it and run. Sure. That might actually be the only way we get there. Okay. Kill this guy fast. That'll help. That'll also help. We're not stopping for that. We do not have time. Sarah is minding her time. Sarah is being a good girl. That didn't work. That went very south. Oh no. Okay. So many hills! It's such a tall map. Okay, go. Summon his ass. Summon his ass. Kill his ass. What are you hitting? Up here now. Oh, we're so fucked. There's no way, man. There's no fucking way. Sure. Straight damage might be the only help I have. I'm kind of tanking you a little bit. Yes. Oh, shit. Ah! Alright, that's a little frustrating. I needed the jumps to get there. They helped a lot, but stopping for that might have cost me. I don't know. That's a toss-up. Still no bingos, huh? No one's got it this game yet. All right. All right. Well, in the interest of keeping this interesting, I'm going to call a random event. There you go. And we're gonna try that again, I guess, because that's the goal right now. Try to make Oofy suck less. I don't know. Not my favorite. Okay, that's, you know, that's a good way to start. I'm not gonna complain about that. Grab the pots. Big pots. Right, go. 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 And this is one way to work on your sword. I don't know if I want to summon a challenge right at the gate. I mean, they'll follow me around. That's fine. Yes. You know what? Let's just go big sword. Let's go big sword. Need to grind sword? We'll grind sword. We'll grind sword all day. I didn't hit that last time. What did I hit? Oh, hey, there's a little man down there. Think he's got anything good? Let's go ask. Little man! Moldy cheese, please. Did I ever mark moldy cheese? I think I did. Oh boy, I marked a lot of things. More quantity? More swords? Gosh, if only I was grinding swords or something. There's a Moai. Have we gotten that yet? Good grief. And there's a thing over there. I want both of these. Degree. Beginning. It's also a pretty nice vantage point. So. Thanks for dying. Yes, hello. More. All right. Yeah, sure. What do we got? Yes. Yes, please. That changes some things. Okay. No. More swords. Can't have enough swords, you know. That's already looking better. He died fast. Okay, movement speed would be good. That was a golden. We got both skeletons marked. Looks like it. Oh, I used. Done. Okay, I'm going to take the movement speed. Luck is good, especially early in a run. But at this point, it's a very short run. I don't want Space Noodle Man. Take that. Alright, that works. Okay, that's one way to move. There's right. Okay, ignore the bosses. And we build out a hole. These guys are the worst for him. Shield. I will actually do blood magic, yes. The added HP would help. Take that gladly. Heat is a way to heal. I'm gonna circle this thing, get what we can get. Man, okay. Yes, please. We got all in on the sword. It'd be great if not for these guys. Hi, bird. Enjoy your sleep. I hope you have pleasant dreams. There's can't afford. I'll mark that in a second. There's some good shit over here. This isn't bad. This isn't bad. Okay. Oh, that went so much better. Holy shit. Okay. What did I just say I had to mark? Can't afford. And we got turbo skates, which pairs well with our upgrades to the... Yes. Okay. Nice Oler. Some of these, I'm going to grab that. It's a freebie, for fuck's sake. Okay. Guy all the way out there. Extra jump. Is everything else going on? Yes. I'm gonna do the other thing. Like, I'm doing so much damage. I kind of feel like I need to take the swing. You know. Doing it. We're doing it. We're doing it. It's kind of stupid. Yeah, I don't know if that was smart. I mean, we're on pace. It's also Very surrounded by problems with not a lot of way to heal ourselves. So that might have gotten me killed if I'm not careful. Okay. Ooh, run away. Yes, help me run away. Go follow, it's fine. We'll try to beef up on that. That will tremendously benefit me. Oh! Yes! Yes, 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 please. HP, I think I need to live at this point? I haven't had mines yet. Who's that? Regen, I fucking need it. I'm about to die. Okay, this helps though. This is actually really helping. Armor. We're 100% focused on getting buffed up and killing little Bart. Hey, the person that's asleep. One thanks to her husband. Okay, that's going much better immediately. Dragon's Breath is really good. The Dragon's Breath is awesome. Yep. Forget how I got it. I don't remember it being particularly easy. So you do have to earn that shit. But man, when you do, Dragon's Breath is good. Victory's mine. Sir Ufi. White. Really? Really? White. We got black, we got white, we got gray. Can't imagine why I don't like Sir Ufi very much. Okay. Whatever. Whatever, man. Suck if you want to suck. It's fine. There's not really a way out of there. Okay. Okie dokie. Mamma mia. I don't know if I can clear that jump. I'd love to. What do you think? I think if I got great. Oh, wait. I see one. Whee! Okay. We're going. This one. Somehow I missed the Moai. I feel a bit dumb. Yeah, I'll take more Dragon Fruit damage, sure. Slutty! I gotta be slutty! I was about to do that just to get it marked for you guys. That's funny. Hey, you know what? Game's almost over. Let's go. More damage from sword. We are trying to make sword good. It's just not the easiest. It's such a mid weapon, and anything that benefits it makes the other stuff that outperforms it better. So it always ends up being really mid. Thank you, Solar. I hope you sleep good. Have sexy dreams. I'm not dead. There we go. Mega crit. On who? Oh, man. Okay. Confirm. Well, at least we got that. I'm mad that's what it is, but we got it. Oh, and Bird won, so I was gonna be like, all right, whoever won gets to choose what's next, but they're going to sleep. So, I'm gonna buy that. Are you serious? Man, Oofy. Yeah, maybe someday, honey. Good grief. It's not even up there as like a thing I've achieved. The sword that I've been working on. Or if I've been working on Oofy. I forget what I've been doing exactly. Maybe I did the sword, because I got the Executioner. I thought I had to do something else. Or is the Executioner the one I need to grind? Oh, fuck. Oh, Cursed Tome. That's a shitty last one to have. Okay. Get Cursed Tome to level 20 in under 10 minutes. What? That gets the corrupted sword. How do you get to level 10? Oh my gosh. 10 minutes? How? What? How would that work? You basically have to force the final rush super early. Kill the boss early and XP your little brains out and just keep making it harder? I don't know. Because I know Curse affects spawn rate, and that's the main benefit of Curse. So as long as you can keep a constant swarm, you'd have a ton of guys, but you'd be able to kill the boss to start that? That's first area. That's brutal. Okay. This one's rough because it means you basically have to be immune to knockback or just really good at killing everything and never fuck up. Haven't pulled that off yet. Cactuses with thorns. I've never gotten Regen Tome to level 8. And that gets the Leeching Crystal, which I need for something else. I've not killed 10,000 enemies as Birdo. I need Dexecutioner and I need Regen Tome. Alright. You know what? There's the Executioner. The Bandit? I actually like the Bandit. He's pretty good. And we've unlocked a nice, pleasant green for him. So, sure. We'll do Desert, just to say we did something different. Why not? Since my choosers went to sleep. Oh, shit. Right. Hold on. We're ending the game. Is anyone, like, hell-bent on keeping their bingo card? We're gonna do. I'm gonna call random. This is your last chance. Good luck. I did put large charge shrine bone. Well, did it do anything good for anybody? I'm gonna change the game over. All right, I'm doing it. I'm ending the round. We're starting another one. Mega Bonk! And that's me saying bonk right out the gate. So you're welcome? I didn't think about it. It just happened. Where's Sarah says bonk? Where's Sarah says bonk? It's not what the other Sarah thinks. Okay. Here we go. It begins. Sure. That was rare, right? Yeah. Walk right out the gate. That's a heck of a one, too. I need to kill a lot of enemies with Executioner. How are you? Die. Regen Tome. That's what I'm looking for this time. Yeah, I feel like a bullet would suit him. And the sword fails. Bang. Indiana Jones style. Yeah, I mean, that also suits him. More Executioner. I don't want to do Curse this time. I've been trying to do that on my own time for ages. It's not very fun. And if I have a bad time, I turn sour and I don't want to be sour. I want to give everyone a good time. So, yeah. I don't want you to have a bad time. You touched me. Mommy, the mummy touched me. Aegis might work. I do like Flame Rocker. Reset. Oh. Yes, please. Could make it bigger. I could get more. You know what? That's actually more better. It's better than anything. Pickup range is very nice, actually. Alright. I'm banished you and I'm immediately forced to do it. I like how it shrouds the map, but it doesn't shroud the map. You still have your map. Ow! Fucking get off my head, bitch! I hate these things. Choices. Early boss tone, you can't help us, but don't get fucking killed by tumbleweeds. Hero sword, I don't have much of that. That's Siege Bandit, I guess. Yeah, alright. So there's a legendary item. Have a nice day. Boom. I'm not sure if I'm excited by that, but it's nice to have. Bounces. Bounces wins. Bounces wins. Life regen. I'm looking for the regen freaking tome, so we're gonna have regen. We just gotta get the thing that has it. And we'll be in business, in theory. Just hop. I have the extra jump, but it's all we're... Ooh, pickup range, though. I love extra jumps. I love pickup range. It's so specific. Ooh, quick chance. Quick chance. Cooldown's also temporary. We are here with a goal. And so far it is mocking me! That's fun. Yeah, okay. A bit of bonus XP, sure, man. Oh. I don't want either of those. Sorry. You're waiting on that. Ooh, yes. He is good to get early. This could keep me the fuck alive right now. Everything that gives me any chance is very much welcome. Damage isn't bad, or general output could be a lot better. I mean, if you're just gonna give it to me. My new favorite toy is burns through guys quite literally. It's melee, but so's the executioner, so it kind of suits the situation. Oh fuck! Oh fuck! I got Skelemanned! Oh, please give me any kind of regen. No! I just wanted the regen tome! I just wanted to be able to heal it all! Why are you mean to me? No! Okay. With a kill! Ah, I don't want those! Ah, you're killing me! Ah! Ugh. Game is being rude as shit. I keep getting the freaking attraction tome and it's pissing me off. I don't have the level ups to spare to banish it right now, but I'm getting real mad that it exists. These Sarah banishes an item should be on there. That's like the last straw for me. That's just the skull egg. Like Area 1 skull egg. I'm like, you motherfucker, every time. Rare Dragon's Breath, more damage. Yeah. It's threatening to give me a tome, but it's not giving me the tomes I need. That's lifesteal. Is that the one I needed? No, I need regen. Asshole. Just not giving it to me at all. I will take luck. I could really use some luck right now. Hi, Milo. What's up, kid? Crits give me healing chance, so anything that ups my crit rate is more than welcome. Double suck shrines over here, which I don't know how much is going to help me right now, but sure. Whoever I can get, and I've got a cat under me. Help you? Well, you can't walk away the second I pet you and expect me to keep petting you. Just can't afford. You're welcome. Regen! Oh my god. Okay, can't afford. We have fourth weapon. We have fourth tome's about to happen. Can't afford. Good grief. Shrine of Suck has absolutely been used. The Moai has been used. Alright, Milo, what do you want, honey? Milo. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? You just want me to look at you? What? Alright, man, whatever. Duration tome is probably another one I haven't used much because I don't use a lot of things that use duration. We're gonna take the regen. We kind of need it. Boom. Need that real bad. Skeleman! Skeleman! Well, he's gone. Halfway through our timer, we barely covered a dent of the map, so that's frightening. Crit rate is not good enough to focus on crit damage right now. The gold for a bandit seems appropriate. I'm gonna do the stinking challenge summons, both of them. Not gonna do that yet. We're gonna actually kill something first. Maybe I should focus more on power up chance. Maybe it would do me some good. I don't know. Projectile count or luck? More everything. More everything. Mama's greedy. Give her more everything. Oh, we're trying to get regen tome to level 8. This does entail that we get anywhere, period. It would be very beneficial. We'll take the HP, actually. Things have been rough here. We have regen now. Yes. This is happening to me. There you go. Frickin'. There ain't nothing for doing Dragon's Breath right to hog heaven. Oh, Borger. Delicious Borger. Making me hungry. Oh. Moldy cheese. That's a heck of a back-to-back. My burger had moldy cheese. I think the skeleton is the only one I've seen. Whoa! No, don't run from me. Why are you running? Yeah. I'm getting a lot of that. It's hard to argue with that. At this point, DPS is very needed to stay alive. So that's kind of where I'm focused. I'd like to do the regen tome, but that's going to need more than one area. Okay. Not super useful. We are focused mostly on staying alive for now. Regen tome will stay. Yeah. By default, every time, please. One of the best items in the game, in my opinion. Shit helps. The overheal and the armor are both really helpful. And gas mask is also on the list, so there we go. And there's a duplicate ice crystal, so... boom. Alright, we're starting to get a build, which is good because we're running low on time. And I still haven't found the damn boss to... Hey, there's a gold skeleton. Oh, legendary microwave. Good luck with that this morning. Okay. What did I just do that was important? Gold skeleton. Oh boy. Give me the spawn increase. I'll take the boss curse too. Ooh, yes. Yes. Yeah, okay, because after this would be a boss. That'll give me 2 chests. And there's the boss gate. Okay, we're doing good. We're doing good. We found the gate. Managing the swarm extremely well. Always a good sign. Just go for a quick hike. All things equal here. Always take luck, especially early on. Determines what you build with EV potentially. Playing the long game. There you are. We're trying to play the long game. No, they are climbing each other like trees. Rare beats that. That's what you get. You get more of those with more luck. So you want more luck so you get better upgrades. There is technically a level cap on those, I believe. But having a lot of like cooldown immediately, so yeah, I'll just casually work towards doubling my fucking attack speed. Why not? XP helps. Screw it. Let's do 3 of these guys, because if I can't handle that right now, we're not conserving much anyway. You don't play the long game by being a coward. You don't make anyone happy by not engaging. Oh, I did 4. Whoops. All right. Well, we better hope this build's working. All right. Oh, an idiot. Hubris is way on the table. Jeez. Come on, man. I can some of the bosses right now just really hate my life. Do that. It would be funny. We are attempting to live, believe it or not, based on the visual situation. I am not saying we have great odds. Yep. Oh no. I died to poison. I died to poison. That's hubris. That's 100% hubris. Oh, God. I can't do shit lately. Okay. Man. Boss cursed. Yeah, we did that once or twice. Alright. Who's pinging me? My wife is pinging me. Oh. Stressful. Okay. Alright. Noted.
Want me to order that?
in here, and that did nothing. Yeah. How exciting. Alright, I'm going back to the forest because of the lot. I mean, the desert went fine. Honestly, I just overdid it on the things. I overdid it on the things. Pardon the interruption. We have to talk. Well, okay. We have to talk about some stuff. Last minute build problems, as always. Oh, Borger up the gate. This gives me a way to heal. Oh shit, roll one of these out the gate. That's also good. I'm thinking more on those. It's so melee focused to like range wise. May as well. Ooh, those are all good. I like this up the gate though. This early on, especially, that's huge. That's a legendary shrine. Mark that. Legendary shrine bonus. Jeez. Aura damage. Damage wins early. We got to move. We got to try and get stuff. Yeah, I like the board. I think that works. Is that really slipped down? Am I crazy? Oh, look at this. Kind of. Speed drop. I was all excited for a second. Hello. Oh. I don't want the scythe. Have a nice day. Listen, it's not a bad weapon. Its sound is so loud and so obnoxious. I can't stand it. If they turn down the scythe noise, I'll be a much happier person. I'm gonna have one. Remembering, one. New skeleton down. Okay. Cooldown is great with him, actually, but I'm gonna refresh, actually. Yeah. Oh, this is really doing it for me. Shield. The shield beats no shield because it ain't that regen time. Alright, we have our goal. The goal is now live. Good chance. A lot of these around right now, okay. Yeah, just be any context. Regen level 2. Huh? Oh, let's see. Okay. Back, lifesteal. Guess not back. Did save us a little bit. I don't know if we have that much. Let's call it. I don't think there's any other weapon I still need kills for, really. I don't know. Jump Bite's not bad. Excuse me. I'm disgusting. Where everybody at? It's quiet tonight. Let's do this too late. Late. Maybe I'll just go do other shit. Alright. Ooh! Big size! Yeah, I'll take big size. Have the aura, that's actually a really good one. Executioner seems to favor it too in different ways, but you get close to me, you get hurt is never a problem, although on this one anyway. In reality, it probably sucked. Kind of sad thing to think about. Bow suits him. I'm gonna give him the bow. I think that is a nice little bandit loadout. I will humor you. Well, my controller just said no. We'll humor you for now. If you start getting overzealous, I will turn you on. You know what? That's right. That's a good trade. Oh. Okay, that gives us some direction. What? You okay? Nice brain prediction. That's what I meant. To be fair, yeah. What's that show? Size, damage. Size, damage. Reroll. Sure. Also, I think HP and regen would go well together, especially with the beefy ring. I think that might work out for damage. Beefy ring gives damage based on HP max, so you can kind of lean towards max HP instead of relying entirely on damage boosters. Gives you options. A little build variety. Bounces is good. You touched me. I like that. I like being touched. Tummies hurt when they touch. Body mans with my body. I'm doing it. Doing the HP build. I think that could be interesting. Ooh, quantity also good, but not necessarily because the weapons are a mixed bag. I'm gonna do it. It helps most. That's one of the downsides of auras. It really doesn't, as far as I know, do anything for aura. It's like the one weapon with quantity doesn't do shit. Might increase hit rate. I don't know. If we go real mean and go for Cursed Tome and the other stuff, I would like to get XP or luck. Just because one of those two, at the very least, will make a huge difference over your run. Those are kind of the two big ones you want. I have one slot left. I'm gonna go for the one that I see first, probably. I think I prefer luck, just because it makes your levels worth more. But, luck didn't save me the one time where I had 5 sneaking legendary and I did it. So there's stuff right in front of me, and I was like, nah. These guys. Playing the cactuses with thorns is something maybe someday I'll do. I'm definitely develop for it. Is there a character that has thorns naturally? Maybe that's the cursed sword guy. I don't know. I'm thinking moldy cheese. Are they still following me? I killed them. I already forgot. Doing good. I don't want to do the bandit. I'm not feeling confident enough in the build. If I saw him a bit later on, maybe give me a couple more minutes. But right now, we've got the start of something good, but nothing really screaming, yo, we've got this. That would help. 304, huh? I'm really so tempted by the gold and telling me that. We're farming forward to get here. 300 is not a lot. We should be alright. I would love that. One of my fave items is up to 100% bonus to the damage, so that could... delicious. That could do us some good. Channeling that Scour on back. Executioner speed is pretty fun. Yeah. I don't want to ruin this by doing that. The bandit can be... basically, you might get an extra chest and nothing else outside of that unlock. And playing the thing you unlock. I'm not that interested in fighting him right now. I'm risking the whole run over one chest. I think he scales with the boss curse too, so if you have any on, which I do have one, he does get harder. Not ideal. I don't want to push my luck in. I've done enough of that for now. That's a good one. Low eye over there is gold chest over here. Just straight luck time. Said I'd take the one I saw. That's the one I see. I don't have any extra jumps this time. Okay. And that's why I banished those. I got a lot of them when I got them. They're really annoying. They don't help that much. I mean, I guess if you land that first hit really well, that's what matters. I don't know. There's a magnet behind me. I want that. I really want that. I'm so tired of getting gold right when a swarm ends. It's so frustrating. Yeah, I'll take a shit like that. Max HP, that doesn't do enough to change it. All things equal, take the regen, it's funny. Now we're getting some. That's my fourth tome, so I need to mark that too. I don't want green. I hate green. I've already done that? Am I already done? We need a triplicate item. We don't have that yet. Yeah. We're actually doing alright. Okay. Something reaching level 10 is the next one. Yeah. Sure. I should take money. Money. You see. That's already gone better than last time. Borger, Gym Sauce. Straight damage, please. Some people complaining that it's not multiplicative, and I'm like, yeah, well, it gets silly pretty fast if it was. I have to scale the whole game if it that way. Okay, I think it's balanced all right in that sense. I do have a limit longer I can go, but so far I'm not doing okay. Working my way back towards a newbie. That moldy cheese, that's not useless. Could be better, but it ain't useless. Wow, there's a lot of Moais on it. Okay. I need damage. I should prioritize it less. I have so much. I don't think I can anymore. Most things. Compared to how much I'm playing and unlock things to even buy. Oh, yeah, that's good. We're almost back. We're almost back. We're doing okay. Yes. I'll just jump. Okay. Backpack's decent. So slow still. Grab the chest. The only thing that helps you kill is because you don't have a ton of time. 30 seconds to kill 2 Anubis, but they're little Anubis. Should they okay? I don't know. Last time they were okay. They're doing alright. Sure. Oh, yeah, that's fine. I might go into the final order a little bit. We're doing okay. That regen do add up, doesn't it? Cool. 0 time waste. Even better. That's the first area cleared. We can finally mark that. Damn triplicate of those stupid glasses. Telling you. That's why they were banished. Okay. Luck Tome. It's a really good luck boost. Home reaches 10. Secondary. Quintuplet. Slurp gloves. All hail the anvil. Something slutty. Hey, good job. You got it. I don't even know who else playing, honestly. I don't think it tells me how many people are playing unless I click the damn thing to join. Oh, Liz won too. All right. Dang, that was a race. That's why it makes you click right there. That is, you both won who calls bingo first. That's how they approximated that experience. So I appreciate that. I like that. We are going to try to be smart this time. Engage with this, but we do want the extra build stuff. This does make a tremendous difference over the course of the run. We have a little farm when the thing's all done. Maybe I'd be willing to bump it. I could clone that, but I'd lose one of... Ooh, actually, shit. Yup. I don't know which one I lost, but fuck it. That is such a huge difference. I don't like it. Oh. Lost the auto campfire. Oh, yes. Okay. I don't want to risk that. I do like the backpack enough. I like the transfusion. I like the sneakers. I got extra demon blood out of that. So that's, yeah, all right. Well, shit. We do want that. This is about to get real scary. Okay, we want to go. We want to go. We want to go? We want to go. I missed. Oh, I didn't miss. Okay. I don't want to push it. But hey, look, Area 2 for the first time all night. Does that make you horny, baby? Oh! A demonic soul. Or power gloves. Ooh! Power gloves are good. Shit. Okay. I like the demon thing a lot. That's choices. You make choices. It's you. That's why you get the luck tone. You're better odds of stuff like that. Love sliding into the tray. Really makes me feel scooted. What'd you make for dinner, Liz? Where's mine? Lizzie. I need one more level on that, and then we get it. One more level on regen, we get the thing with leeching crystal unlocked. Finishing one more quest in my pile of stuff to do. Ooh. Hope the dinner's good. I had mac and cheese with some old bacon in it. Honestly, I might do it again tonight. We'll see. Leftover bowl, that's her. She's like, you should eat it. Like, yeah, but it's yours. You might eat. You get hungry too. That is. I mean, I'm not coming back this way, so fine. Am I? I don't know if I'm feeling ballsy enough to do it. Boss curse round 2. Let's see how it goes. I don't really want to do it right out the gate. I mean, I'm keeping them at bay really well. So maybe it's smart. Maybe it's a good move. My crit chance. Not good enough to want that. Fuck it, I never do that. Let's see if it makes any meaningful difference for me. Ah, screw it. One boss curse. Adds up to 3 extra chests over the course of the map. It's something stressful a little bit, but it's something. Buttery lemon and arugula pasta with a side of chicken nuggets. So that's like bougie autism. I'd try. I don't know what arugula is offhand, but I'd try. It's a veggie. Hey, there we go. Leeching crystal done. Did it. Now we gotta beat the shit out of your scorpionussy. I'm not feeling super confident, but I've felt a lot worse before. I don't like that it's on my ass. I'd love for it to get off my ass. It's evil lettuce. Well, then why are you eating it if it's evil? Or is that why you're eating it? It's evil. Give me the jumps. There's enough stuff that attacks the ground here. I'd really like to just gnaw a dog once in a while. Like, nah. We got ghosts. Ghosts keep on us. I got ghosts a lot. Whee, motherfucker! Yeah, I'm glad I took one, but I do not want another. I'm already kind of nervous how this is going to go long term, but I managed. Mirror? That's 2 mirrors. That has potential. Don't. I have the luck tome. I don't need your luck. That is, every chest you open gives you an extra 2% luck. That's great. He had to nerf it because it became such a huge part of the meta, apparently. So now the chest price goes up 10%, and that kills me. In effect, everything you get has a chance of making all future things better. But. And it's a hell of a but. Now that cost is brutal, because they already get real expensive. Like, if your gold is stacking enough, I think that's the meta in question, is if you stack enough gold boost, then it's different, but I don't. So for me, it's just kind of a, I will gladly banish the green credit card. I don't care what the meta hosts say. I'm just trying to live. And the mummies don't want me to live. Yikes. I need damage, man. Bouncing off their heads. I mean, it's working, don't get me wrong, but crit chance does add up, size adds up. This Fuchsia is not getting much actual straight up damage, and that does, though. I mean, I've seen it do like 200 here. So it's not doing bad. Total overall damage up to 3.3. Not terrible for this sword. I'm getting a lot of it. It does cover a nice area. So it's got that going for it. The fact we're halfway through our time already does not make me happy. We have barely dented the map. Don't know where the boss gate is. I've been stopped by a lot of things. There's options here. Slutty. Slutty! Slutty. I mean, the 15% is nice, but come on. I have to take something slutty. That's just the game. You know, I'm going to join this one. I'm going to join this game. And I'm going to have a bingo fucking immediately. There. No one's stopping me. Finds me mildly acceptable. I'll let other people win. Or duration. Duration helps with the arrows and kind of the bullets. Alright. Bob's Light. Toxic Barrel. I have the gas mask. That's a huge one. That's a big part of that whole setup. Okay. Freebie. Safe to say the bottom half doesn't have the fucking thing. I would have seen it by now. At least rule that out. There are so many of these guys. Oh my gosh. Slurp gloves! We've gone all night without slurping. I gotta slurp, dogs. Bob is very dead, yeah. I just carry him around for fun. More elites for more XP, yes. Ooh. Yeah, more everything. Just more everything, I guess. More everything. More gas mask. Double gas mask. I have double gas mask. I think that makes me a god. I'm not going to test that too thoroughly, but I did just become significantly harder to kill. Ooh, yeah, I'll take some armor on top of that. No offense to thorns, I'm just not a big fan. Oh, shit, I'm so slow though. Yeah, funny. Gotta start looking here. It's gotta be around, right? Like, it can't be too much further away. Be halfway across the stupid map. Oh, okay, cool. Found it. Perfect. Life is good. We are okay. And we have a whole, like, boss, mid-boss, and, what you call it. Crit chance, please. And if my stuff plays crit, I think I want that. Evasion seems to go well. So I'm going to do that. Then open the box. Grandma's Secret Tonic. I see. I don't know what the fuck Grandma's been feeding me, but alright. I will gladly make things explode if I crit. Sucky magnet? Dude, alright. Things are great. More damage. Things are really good. There's something up there. I think it's a challenge. Didn't want that. Yo, I'm getting sucked. Now, if I die to the Horde, I'm gonna be really sad. It feels like a great build. My DPS just is not up to snuff. That sucks? That's much better. I would love the damage, baby. There's only a teeny bit of damage. That's not very good. More luck. Clearly I don't have enough luck, so I'm having issues. Also use more armor apparently, so I'm taking lots of damage. Okay. Regen outplays poison really easy, so that's good. I'll take it. He died. And over there, it doesn't do as much good as it used to. More revolver. Hitting everything but damage. Like, I'm spamming shit. They just don't hurt very much. Okay. Yeah, that goes well with the other stuff, so that's good. Okay. A moment of testing. Not horrible, not amazing. That could be much better. I'm not thrilled. It's what we have. And I think we should probably spawn the actual boss here after this, but we're going to be deep shit. So this is taking a good chunk of time just to kill these two, and they're not as strong as it is. So. Uh-oh! My damage isn't up to snuff. Yay! Love that for me. A little bit lucky from the chest. My luck has not been saving me so far. Okay, yeah, HP's great. It's helping. I'm getting a lot of luck. I wish it would apply to something besides more luck. That does help. That does help. The nuke here helps too. See if I can lure them over. Okay, we have a secondary function. Fine. Boy, I barely touched this map. I'm glad it's I am so slow. Good grief. Again, if the luck could apply to anything but luck. Sure. It's something. Right, Anubra, come on. That is a discouraging amount of health meter going down. Go up. I'd love to lure you towards the nuke, but I'm pretty sure if I do that, red thing's just gonna fucking kill me. So that's that plan out. This is probably where it ends, dogs. I'll fight as long as I can, but my damage just isn't there. I mean, I made the goal I came in to do, so that's something. I'm probably not going to make it the final wave at this rate. I could regen more. I'm spending it all. I need damage. I need damage. I need so much damage. We're dead. We're dead. We're dead. Oh my god. Yeah, I noticed. Dead. Yeah. 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 It wasn't a bad build. It was actually, there's a lot of really good stuff there, but the damage just wasn't fucking there, man. I had no DPS in the end. And that's what I needed. But hey, look, the Executioner's doing pretty good, so maybe I'm making headway on that. It's not showing up there, so that's promising. Oh, there it is. Oh boy. Okay, we got a ways to go there. But I got the Leeching Crystal, which boom. Ooh! Now, normally that wouldn't upset me. I much prefer lifesteal. But that's interesting. So you needed regen to even unlock it. Okay. That's Cactus with Thorns. Good luck with that. That's Attraction Tome. Interesting. Get 3 of the Crystal in one run to get Kevin. That's apparently also a big one. Kill dudes is Birdo. That's so hard. That is so hard to do. If you can kill Spooky Steve, I think that gets much easier. But you gotta kill Spooky Steve! And I still don't really understand how you do that. There's videos and stuff on how to do it. You basically have to do percentage damage. Because there's no other way to kill him, you know? This could help. Maybe. Yeah, no idea. I will be right back. I am going to take a quick little stretch. And maybe we'll do one more round of this, and we'll go from there. I will probably segue around midnight or so and make sure we're fed. So yeah, I'll be right back. I'm in fact being informed that I should probably wrap up like now. Okay. That's fine. We'll do that. So last call for bingo. And I don't think there, I mean, I took fall damage somewhere in there, I'm certain. Nothing reached level 10. Yeah, that's kind of where that is. I'm gonna call random. Go! Do my best. I'm not even entirely sure what I'm doing next. I haven't thought that far ahead. I should probably make food of some kind. Yeah. And go from there. Get some work done or something. I don't know. Rats. I can actually, let me end the game. Because I think everyone's done that's doing it. So I can change it. So we have the classic 5. But I can also make it so you need an X, a plus, 4 corners, a smiley face, whatever squares is, or a full house. You have to black out the whole board. Those are the options. I actually do a lot of stuff. I can limit to subscribers if I'm mean. I can turn off the free space and make it real interesting. I can mix and match different things. I'm doing just Megabonk because the Megabonk one is what we're playing. I need to address the general events more still. Now Liz is back in the lead. Good job, Lizzie. I can also do tournaments. There's leaderboards for the last week and the last 30 days. There's leaderboards for all time, and I can do tournaments, and we can do like some sort of prize at the end of the tournament if I felt so inclined. Which I guess is where you start getting people to actually spend bits on the cards. So, oh, there's options, things to think about. For tonight, sorry it was late. There's no Star Ocean. My fault. Tomorrow is Thursday. Some sort of commissions. I should probably look at my sched queue and see where that's at. I've been focused on general lately because there's quite a few of them I need to work through between the Cupid things and everything else. We'll see. We'll see. Liz's big smiles. She wants Skeb. She wants Skeb bad. So I think she's also one of the Cupids. So she wins either way. And also she wins last night where I did her POS to her, assuming she can ever get to her computer again. So. Yeah. I think. I'll say goodbye to y'all in my little cave. Yes. Yeah, I think that's the plan. Tonight, we'll see what I do. I'll probably work on something or other. Katie is talking like she wants to bring back Lonely. She's down to try some more, so that's on the table. I don't know if I'll put that in the things. Yeah, I watch some juggling with my slime forest addiction. Focus, fixation, whatever you want to call it at this point. It's making progress. I'm quite happy. I was tempted to show it off, but time has flown, and she's like, you should wrap. So I'm like, yeah, I'm hungry. It's late. We'll do that. I should show off Slime Forest soon, though. I've done a lot. I'm very happy with it, so I'm excited. It's almost starting to look like a game. It's looked like a game for a while, but it's coming together. The pieces are coming together better, bit by bit. So, yes. All right. I think that's all I got. Good night, everybody. You can always ping me on Discord or Blue Sky or whatever if you need me. You know the drill. And I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.